I'm curious, what are the tools that you recommend for us to become integrated and empowered? And, I know it's not an overnight thing. So, what is it? Yeah. What are your ways?
Yeah, it's definitely not an overnight thing, but it's a daily thing, like you mentioned. It's a daily thing. And like I was saying earlier about, there's no one size fits all for a baby. There's not a one size fits all for humans. So I think what I have found in my own life and working with so many people is finding what works for you. Like I love Dr. Joe, but am I going to sit and do an hour and 20-minute meditation every day? Nope.
No,
I tried. I didn't do it. Every once in a while, will I? Yes. Since I had a baby. No. So I have found, my things that really help me regulate. That's huge. So what I'll say is, I think the first step is to know where you are in your own journey. So are you more in a maintenance place? Are you in like a little remodeling place? Like you just need to clean some stuff up. Like you may be a little bit Mark, or are you in a real like dig deep transformation place? Like something's up that you need to handle and deal with. And so I think it's different tools for all those stages. If you've, got a trauma that you haven't dealt with, or you've gotten something big that's happened in your life and you're just in survival mode and you're dysregulated and you need some help, then you're in the roll your sleeves up and find support. Like that's the phase where I don't think we can do it alone. And I don't think we can do it just with books and podcasts. We actually need another human being, be it a coach, therapist, some kind of practitioner to work with us and to be our guide and to hold for us, to hold that container, because it can feel really scary to look at our trauma. And let's just we've used that word a lot. I just want to define it. Trauma doesn't mean you had to be abused or, you had this huge, awful thing. You could have moved a lot in your life and that was traumatic. Somebody could have said one mean thing to you in 6th grade and that was traumatic. Trauma is too much, too fast, too soon. And it can be different for different people. For me, the way I was teased was traumatic. For somebody else with a different personality and a different nervous system and different background and parents and all that stuff. And by the way, I had great parents. They might have been like, that doesn't bother me at all. Like, I'll just dish it back. And it was not a big deal for them. So we never can compare our trauma to someone else's. That's the worst thing to do, because often we minimize our experience because we're like, oh, I didn't have it so bad. And then you're minimizing it and minimizing it and minimizing it. And then you wake up at 40 and you're sick. So don't minimize your own experience. So that's the first thing. Know what phase you're in. And if you're in that phase of like, you've got some shit to handle, pardon my French, then it's like getting a guide. And then if you're in the like tweaking, remodeling phase, it's like going back to what works, going back to what works. And I think putting in a 40-day practice, like 40 days of what's your practice that's going to get you back to where you want to go, whether it's diet stuff, whether it's meditation, like what works for you in terms of where, what you need to tweak. And one thing that I call it my start, stop, modify plan, because I did a lot of research on how long it takes for something to change from a discipline to a habit. Because I don't have to think about brushing my teeth every day. Like I don't have to put sticky notes up. Like I do it. It's a habit. I don't even remember doing it. It's just something that occurs. But it's somewhere around that 40-day mark. So if you pick one thing that you want to start doing, one thing you want to stop doing, and one thing you want to modify over 40 days and put that in practice, that's a great way for something to become a habit rather than, so you have to discipline in 40 days. Super simple. And that's great, especially in that kind of remodeling phase, because if you're like, oh my gosh, I did this and this, and this is like New Year's resolutions. You make 40 million of them and none of them stick. So be specific, be brief, keep it simple. And then if you're in that more maintenance phase of, you just want to stay committed to your practices, like, again, what are the things that work for you? I love Dr. Joe. I've been to his advanced retreat twice. I will probably go again. But for me, I'm not going to sit and do it for an hour and a half a day. It's not where I am in my life. So I have an 11-minute meditation that I love. I also know my nervous system and my vagus nerve is something that's a constant. I need to constantly come back to that, especially with new motherhood and sleep deprivation. So I have certain tools that I use, like vibration tools and certain breath work and sounds that I use to really regulate my vagus nerve and my nervous system. Because to me, that's going to do my nervous system way more good than sitting and trying to meditate for 10 minutes. So knowing what works for our body. For someone else, it could be a walk, 20 minutes a day. So it's finding those things that really work for you versus following someone else's prescription or like what worked for somebody else.